Ultimate Halo now has a Discord. Go to the description, join the community, and let's talk some Halo. Ayo plads and lasses, Fletch here from Ultimate Halo, and as human beings we are infatuated with the unknown. Do aliens exist? Are Russians secretly screwing with us? Is Noble 6 alive in a cave somewhere? Well, maybe not the last one, but you know what, nonetheless, the question is still there to be asked. And over the years, Halo fans have been no exception to doing this. Over the years, they've made speculation upon things they've found which have eventually turned into either myths or urban legends. Some are very much solved and some are still widely debated to this very day, decades on. So in today's video I'm going to evoke your imaginations and we are going to discuss 7 huge myths and urban legends in the Halo franchise.
Ultimate Halo.
First of all, we are going to start off this list nice and easy with something that I was absolutely enamoured with as a kid. In Halo 2, Bungie released the multiplayer map pack which included 9 brand new maps to play online and on split screen with your friends. One of my personal favourites, which has seen a couple of returns now, is Headlong, which is based in New Mombasa during the events of Halo 2. I absolutely loved the industrial look of this map and the verticality that it offered, although there was always just this one thing that I could never get off my mind and stop thinking about, and it was this particular billboard. The Hog. Drive with reckless abandon in the new 12th gen Hog. Comfort, luxury, bone-crushing power, its beauty, and the beast. Yes, it's every Halo fan's dream, and even though we got kind of close with the Cybertruck in real life recently, it still doesn't come close to the Hog. I can assure you all that it didn't take long for this to become widely talked about within the community, and rumours spread that you needed to get out of the map to find it, perform stupidly specific tasks to spawn it in, and whatever foreign posters could think about back in the day. What people need to remember is that there were very different times on the internet. Most of this stuff was done by word of mouth. If you did have the internet, it was likely dial-up, so you needed to make sure you made the most of your time before mum needed to get on the line to call Karen from down the road to see what time they're making cookies tomorrow. Jesus Christ. Anyway, I think you all see my point. It was hard to get information and most of the time it was inaccurate. So did the Gold Hog ever exist? Well, the answer is yes and no. Unfortunately, it never existed back in the Halo 2 days because it was simply a render done for this map billboard, but 343 and certain Affinity did listen when it came to the launch of Halo 2 Anniversary multiplayer. Forge was getting all kinds of new features, but all we really wanted was the golden warthog, which we absolutely got. We could place the object, use it for race, and it was fast, mobile, and had no turret. Even though it's not the same as knowing the mystery was true back in the good old days, at least we can live out our childhood dreams in the present with the Hog. Next up is Halo 3 unlocking recon armor, and don't be surprised if you see a few more Halo 3 myths on here because this game was an absolute nightmare for them. Now I'm going to be honest, I absolutely hated this because there'd be some cool things to try out or do in Halo, but the bragging rights of recon back in the day were insane and practically every Halo fan's dream was to get it. But why exactly was it so desirable? Originally in Halo 3 you could only get it by being featured by Bungie. It could be something cool like doing a cool Forge map, a clip, a screenshot, and then if you were lucky enough you would then get granted the helmet. Kind of like the unicorn skins in Halo 5, but back then it just seemed so much harder to obtain. Because of it being so hard to get, Halo fans would then make up ridiculous tasks you need to do in Halo 3 just to troll you and waste your time. It could be crouch in a certain area so many times, press a button so many times on a map, then sit in a corner so many times, and so on. One that I saw quite a lot back in the day was that you had to log on to bungie.net, log in, click on the picture, change part of the URL, and yeah, something dumb, and all I want to know is, can I has recon? Sorry, kind of lost my way there, but later on down the line it was more obtainable by doing the Halo 3 ODST Vidmaster achievements, but recon was the bane of many people's lives back in the day, and whilst you can argue Achilles in Halo 5 was similar in terms of difficulty, there needs to be some more mystery about how you obtain it, get fans asking questions and going crazy over it. And just as a reminder, 343 eventually gave everyone recon armor years down the line. A lot of people weren't happy about this, but at the end of the day, it was an old game, the culture around it had faded, and any armor could be unlocked in the MCC when that launched anyway, so it wouldn't make too much of a difference. Just as a quick one before we go to the next myth, please leave a like and subscribe as I do regular Halo content for you all. I love to see you around next time, and in the comments down below let me know what is your experience with any of these myths, and have you experienced any myths or urban legends of your own? Let me know. So this next one is less of an urban legend and more of a myth which took me many years to actually come to realise, and it was probably one of HiddenXperia's videos that told me this, but the Flood in Halo 3 have many different and distinct forms, but these big dudes here, they are a real pain in the backside, and also for a lot of time they were very mysterious. Growing up myself and a lot of my friends thought that they were Flood versions of the Hunters, which would make sense considering their form factors draw many similarities. They have the heavy asymmetric arm, heavy bodies and the drooping head, but what's also funny is that if you Google Halo Flood forms, under one of the pins it shows this type of Flood as a Hunter. Well, this to my surprise was not true. What you are looking at is a Flood pure form. These do not require any hosts to exist and instead are composed of just purely Flood biomass. This also explains why they are able to transform between different shapes and attack you in so many different ways. I always assumed this growing up because the Let Go forms could always move around and assume different positions, which they can normally do anyway, so this kinda makes sense, but apparently not. It's something I think some Halo fans still get wrong to this very day, and truthfully, I don't really blame them. Next up, we are going to jump forward to Halo Reach, and whilst this game had its fair share of rumours, there are no doubts that this one was likely one of the larger ones, but strangely it did come towards the end of the game's life cycle. On the 15th of March 2011, Bungie released the Defiant map pack, including some new multiplayer maps and a firefight map. Fans for the most part really enjoyed what it had to offer, but what it didn't offer was the most interesting part. Prior to the release, we were provided with some screenshots that IGN published, and one screenshot in particular showcased 3 Spartans, but one had an unseen helmet with a circular scope on the right eye, which was called the GRD helmet. Not much was said at this point, and then come launch it was strangely absent. Fans could not unlock this helmet. Fans thought they had another recon on their hands, but they were sadly wrong when Jessica Shea, otherwise known as BS Angel, by the way I miss you Jess, please come back to Halo someday. Anyway, she said that the helmet was cut due to time restraints, but this didn't stop the community finding various ways to get their hands on it, and rumours such as killing all the Bobs, which were the golden elites in the campaign, getting all the intel etc. were all ways to obtain the armour. None of this was true of course, and when Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary released, 343 wanted to throw back to those days, and with a lot of the multiplayer maps you can find dolls that get you achievements, which are GRD dolls. So even though the armour is no longer obtainable anymore, the legacy still lives on. Next up is another lore myth which I believed growing up, and if I'm honest I thought the same all the way up until the Halo 5, and this was that the grunts and the jackals could not be infected by the Flood. I know I covered this earlier, but I'm counting this as its own for very different reasons, which HiddenXperia once again also covers in great detail in his own channel. You see, the argument I always heard for the jackals was because they were so thin and frail, which may be true, yes, but it's incorrect. In Halo Wars 1 we see jackals and grunts are infected. The likely reason for not seeing the grunts infected in particular is due to their armour being so thick and protecting their spine, and because they breathe methane instead of oxygen, it also means they don't have to breathe in any of the Flood spores floating around in the air. Once again, I will link HiddenXperia's video if you want more information on this, because his reasoning is very interesting, yes, but they can be turned into the Flood, and hopefully the Flood come back in the future where we can eventually see this happen. The penultimate pick on this list is another Halo 3 one, before we top off this list with another huge Halo 3 mystery which puzzled fans for many years. This one is Halo 3 Crystal Armour. Whilst this wasn't the biggest rumour out there, I remember this floating about the schoolyard as a kid with murmurs saying it was possible. Rumour had it that it was possible to have crystal textured skin that glowed in Halo 3 back in the day, which was arguably as elusive as the golden warthog, just not as widespread. But what you will notice is some screenshots online from Bungie.net back in the day. Because you had effects in Forge and equipment which distorted the camera, you could then change the look of your game in screenshots, and people used to utilise these methods to get different sheens on the armours to fool the community. Of course, to get it, and people would post online, get the standard, kill so many people and you can have it, send me 800 Microsoft points and I'll mod your account. And hold up, yeah, what? Microsoft points? Yes, they were very different days. I do not miss that. Wanting to download something and being like 10 short or something stupid. So annoying. Anyway, I'm sure you're all aware that this is bogus, but at the same time, it's not a bad idea to be able to change your armor finish. So hopefully we will see something like that going forward in Halo Infinite. Well, what can I say, you made it to the final pick, but for this one I wanted to go all out and explain my favourite, because I'll be honest, I remember super early YouTube videos on this, and when I look back it makes you realise how little people knew about game development back in the day, because tools and information wasn't as accessible, meaning that people could take the most unintentional stuff and try to find some greater meaning behind it. So this myth and urban legend is the Halo 3 davinci Code egg, and initially came to light on the map Sandtrap and took the community many years to figure out what exactly was going on. Now I'm currently using some of General Kid's footage, but please watch this full video in the description because you'll find a lot more detail there. And if you load up the map Sandtrap and you have modding tools to go outside of the barriers, you can find a sphere with letters covering the surface in various colours. It was believed it had a much greater purpose in the game, and fans tried for many years to decipher what exactly was going on, but with no luck. Once we had more access to modding tools and fans started to dig a little bit deeper, it was found that it was part of the Guardian's tools that killed you. You see, the eggs emit beams to where the player is located outside of the map barriers, and wherever the beams land it will project the trip mines up in the air to explode. This means that the map doesn't actually have mines under the ground, just waiting to come out. The egg just points to exactly where they need to be. This for me was genuinely mind-blowing. I was going to include it in the video either way because I knew of it back in the day, but it wasn't until I watched General Kid's video about it that I found the answers. So there we have it. I hope you all learned something new today, and feel free to leave a comment below with what your favourite myth is or ones you experienced back in the day. Once again, my name is Jack Fletcher and I will see you next time on the one and the only Ultimate Halo.
Subscribe now to Ultimate Halo for more unfriggin' believable Halo content.